Hello, my dear friends. I have I don't know if you call it sad duty, but I have the duty to inform all of you of a very simple fact. The President of the United States of America is a pervert. Understand what I just said. The President of the United States of America is a pervert. Now, you just don't say something like that without backing it up.
When James Carville goes after Donald Trump, it's not debate, it's demolition. He shreds Trump's ego-fueled persona, recasting him as a figure defined less by power than by chaos. To Carville, Trump isn't a leader, but a tired rerun nobody wants to watch. And for a man obsessed with legacy, nothing stings more than being painted as irrelevant.
Dramatic here, but at 1 o'clock on the 17th of January of 2024, I raised a question and pointed out that they were red splotches on Donald Trump's hands, and that could be professional, a sign of syphilis, a venereal disease, a tertiary syphilis, and it can have profound effects if not treated.
James Carville doesn't merely criticize Donald Trump, he dissects him with surgical precision. To Carville, Trump isn't a commander-in-chief, but a cautionary tale wrapped in spray tan and drowning in red ties. Every strike is meant to scar, not bruise. And when Carville lands a hit, the mark doesn't fade, it sticks.
So Trump has gone out of his way to tell us he's a pervert. He's talked about, this is very difficult, I hate to bring this up, but we got to do this. His youngest daughter, I think her name was Tiffany, and was fantasizing about her breasts when she...
From the start, James Carville zeroes in on Donald Trump's obsession with Image a Man, who talks strength but survives on smoke and mirrors. Rather than govern, Trump fixates on ratings, rallies, and crowd sizes. To Carville, this isn't leadership. At all, it's a vanity project dressed up as a presidency. Louisiana born.
This is a supplement to what I just did, because I think I brought up a really, really important point here. And, you know, sometimes you always have to evaluate the conclusions you drew because maybe they were erroneous conclusions. And so one of the things that we know for sure is Donald John Trump stinks. In other words, he smells like shit.
James Carville doesn't hesitate to cast Donald Trump as a caricature of dysfunction. Every move, he argues, springs from insecurity chasing applause while dodging responsibility. To Carville, Trump isn't truly leading. He's forever auditioning for the role of president while America is stuck watching the blooper reel. And history, he warns, won't recall triumph, only the chaos left in his wake.
Then he talked on Howard Stern about having sex with his oldest daughter. Come on, man. I'm not that sheltered. I'm 80 years old, all right? I've been around the world once. I've been to Arkansas twice. I've seen and heard a lot of shit in my life. I have never, ever heard of anybody fantasizing about having sex with their daughter. You're a perv.
James Carville has a knack for shredding Donald Trump's so-called business legacy. He reminds audiences that Trump isn't a self-made mogul, but a man buoyed by inheritance, bankruptcies, and branding gimmicks. To Carville, the Trump empire isn't a monument to success. It's a museum of failure, dressed up in gold plating and cheap illusions. And the greatest con of all, convincing the world he built it himself.
Fiasco in Canada, where there was a G7 meeting, and of course he can't stay because, frankly, they don't give a shit about him anymore. He was not the center of attention. And then he holds a press conference with the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, of which he has some empty pages that are blowing in the fucking wind that don't have anything.
Then there's Donald Trump's political stallure. Rather, the absence of one. James Carville points out that true leaders build coalitions, solve problems, and bring people together. Trump does the opposite. He cultivates feuds, feeds on division, and treats Twitter tirades as if they were official policy. He talks tough, but wilts under criticism. To Carville, the irony is glaring. A man desperate to roar like a lion, yet constantly acting like a wounded house cat.
This man is repetitively, publicly fantasized about having sex with underage females. He was actually asked, well, what age limit you wouldn't go before? And I think his consensus number was 12. Yeah, that's right. Look it up. That's what he said. So again, I'm not being Clarence Darrow or Louis Brandeis or something. It's a division against interest.
James. Carville takes aim at Donald Trump's toxic relationship with the truth. He likens Trump's presidency to a game of two truths, and a lie except the truths never showed up. From inflated stats to outright fabrications, Trump lied so relentlessly that even fact-checkers threw in the towel. Combine that with his fixation on loyalty valuing blind devotion over competence and Carville frames the Trump White House not as an administration, but as a cult.
I do not, I guess Trump is human in one sense, in another sense he's not. I really think he is such an odious and despicable man that he should not be accorded the most basic courtesies that one human being would extend to another.
The roast doesn't stop there. James Carville ridicules Donald Trump's obsession with playing the victim-a-billionaire president, whining like an underdog. Despite all his power, Trump cast himself as forever under siege, cheated by shadowy forces. Carville also slams the emptiness of his policy record. Big promises on health care and infrastructure that dissolved into nothing but photo ops and slogans. To Carville, Trump's presidency wasn't progressive, was wasted years chasing headlines instead of making history.
I think we have to consider the fact, not the fact, we have to consider the possibility, I want to be very careful with my language here, that Trump is unable to wipe his ass. Yeah, you heard me. It is possible that this man is incapable of wiping his own.
James Carville's most brutal strike goes personal. He argues Trump isn't political change, he's just a spectacle. And spectacles always burn out. What once seemed bold now feels stale and repetitive. The rallies, the recycled grudges, the non-stop self-pity, none of it shocks anymore. To Carville, Trump has slipped from showman to rerun. And nothing ends a performer faster than losing the audience.